The Trojans have recruited well, used the portal, but how did they acquire their toughness? Was that built through coaching or something else?
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
This crossover edition of Locked On the Portal and Locked On USC. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making both Locked On USC and Locked On the Portal a part of your day each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We are brought to you today by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if it hits, you can get $300 to unlock across the FanDuel app. We're going to be talking all things USC, talking about their portal additions, recruiting, how everything is starting to mesh a lot better out in LA. Did Lincoln Riley build it through the portal? Is it high school recruiting, combination, coaching? What made them a tougher team? And of course, we're definitely going to talk about USC playing at Notre Dame. To help me figure that out, Mark Culkin. How you doing, sir?
It's happening, Brian. Good to be here.
Good to be here too, brother. USC Notre Dame is always a great rivalry. It's one of them that I grew up on, you too. So that's kind of self-explanatory. But the question that I have is really from watching them, they've gotten tougher and tougher. I don't think Michigan's as good as they were. They certainly lost those 2 D tackles last year, but they still got some guys.
Sure.
And USC played much better up front. Most of the linemen, if I remember correctly, they were starting for the Trojans this year, high school guys that they've developed. So that's a good trend. How many of the guys starting on offense are portal guys besides Maeva? He obviously transferred from UNLV. Anybody else a major portal guy that's in the starting lineup?
So you had Waymon Jordan. Well, he's been removed for at least the next 4 to 6 weeks, running back, one of the best in the nation. Eli Sanders was another running back who was doing really well, and he's actually lost for the season.
Oh, that's tough.
So those were 2, key cogs in this offense. And then you have Ja'Onre Reed, the transfer center from Syracuse, who now has been thrust into a big role. Keelan O'Connor's missed the last few weeks. He missed the game against Michigan. Ja'Onre Reed stepped right in. And as you were saying at the beginning of the show here, USC's offensive line kind of dominated that Michigan defense.
They did.
So guys that USC had on their offensive line. Number one, they were missing their starting left tackle, Elijah Page. So you had that going for you. Somebody they recruited. Tobias Raymond, who has been playing left guard, played left tackle. Justin Talanu moved from left tackle to right tackle. Alani Noah is somebody they recruited as well. He's been their starting right guard this is his 3rd year. I mentioned Keelan O'Connor at center. He's hopefully he'll be back for the Nebraska game. That would be the soonest he'd be back. But yes, USC has recruited really well in the trenches, specifically on the O-line right now we're talking about. And I think that's part of the culture that Lincoln Riley's been trying to build. You go to the transfer portal, you get a guy here and there. He tried to do that in his first couple of years, tried to build that offensive line through that portal. Didn't work out as successfully as he wanted it to. So this year, finally, it's the guys he recruited, and they played pretty well. So you have to give some credit to the guys to the recruiting, but also the coaching. Both things are true at the same time.
Well, that's really important because I think especially O-line, more often than not, you can add a portal guy or whatever, but high school is better. They bond. Offensive linemen bond.
And here's something else. Josh Henson recruited these guys. Zach Hansen was on the staff as the tight ends coach. He played a role as well. But Josh Henson kind of handed this class off to Zach Hansen. And, going into the season, the offensive line was a question mark. Can they hold up? Can they play in the Big Ten? Can they, do the job? Well, they've been maybe the strongest unit on the team this year compared to and second in line, defensive line. So you're looking at the 2 areas that USC had people question, were they tough enough? And those guys have really stepped up this year on both sides of the ball.
So how many starters did they have out of the lineup on the O-line going into the game against the Irish?
So Elijah Page should be back. He should be available. And if that's the case, the only starter missing would be Killian O'Connor. But again, John Ray Reed came over from Syracuse. He was supposed to be the presumptive starter. 25 starts at Syracuse. Killian O'Connor, had just gone from walk-on to earning a scholarship. Well, John Ray found out that there's something to the culture, to the locker room, to being part of the program for a few years, understanding Lincoln Riley's offense. And John Ray had to kind of admit that after the Illinois game. They had that bye week. USC showed up last week against Michigan, and you would think, all right, well, that's why they brought him in, because he's, he looks like an NFL type of center compared to Killian, who doesn't have that same type of God-given ability, I guess is the best way to put it.
Well, that's certainly a big deal, because when Lincoln Riley's offenses are best, they'll run gap, they'll run different, things, RPOs, and then they hit you over the top. But they do a lot of stuff underneath first, draw you in. And his designs are good, but if you can't block it, it doesn't matter what scheme you have.
Well, here, let me just, put an exclamation point on how well this offensive line is playing. So I mentioned just a few minutes ago, USC's lost their 2 starting running backs, Waymon Jordan, Eli Sanders. You watch the game against Michigan. King Miller is a preferred walk-on. He was the one doing all that damage. Brian Jackson came in after halftime. He's been playing with turf toe. He's been injured with turf toe. And you saw what he's able to do. So it doesn't matter who's playing running back for USC right now. It could be a 4-star out of Texas like Brian Jackson. It could be those transfers, the transfer portal guys, Waymon Jordan, Eli Sanders. It doesn't matter. USC's running the ball incredibly well, and they did it against the best run defense in the country, at least going into that game. You got to give credit where credit's due. It's recruiting, it's coaching, and any of those doubters out there should say, all right, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Maybe USC found the formula.
I think they probably did. To that point, while we're talking about offense, Mekhi Lemon's great. Jacoby Lane and some of the other guys have all been balanced. But they don't have anybody with 20 receptions, but Mekhi's got like 44 or something like that.
Yeah.
It hasn't mattered because he's been so dominant. It's insane.
Jacoby's been playing with an injury. He's been getting healthier. But they've been using him in spots. He's on the field, but they're picking their spots where he's the intended target. Mekhi, what's making this offense so great? It's making the opposing defenses have to choose. If you double team Mekhi, he's still going to burn you. I mean, he's shown that so far this year. But if you double team Mekhi or Jacoby, you're leaving the middle of the field open. And USC's third receiver right now, it's their tight end position. It's Lake McCree, it's Walker Lyons. Those guys have been getting the job done. So, again, right now the offense is clicking really well. You talked about Lincoln Riley. He's dialing it up. He's using the screen pass a lot. He's just putting guys in open space on the grass and letting them run after the catch. So Mekhi Lemon is right now, I'll plant the flag on this hill. He is the best wide receiver in the country right now. And that's not a slight to Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State or to Ryan Williams at Alabama or anybody else or the guys at Indiana, wherever. Pick a top wide receiver. Mekhi Lemon is playing like a Biletnikoff Award winner, and he's starting now to get some Heisman consideration.
I said that yesterday on my show. Like, I'll still take Jeremiah first in the draft, but like they don't use him the same way USC uses Mekhi. It's production. Jeremiah's more talented because he's just so big and all that. I get it. But Mekhi is just like that catch he made last week in the end zone was ridiculous.
He's falling backwards. First of all, you got to give credit to Mayava for the throw. I mean, it was where it had to go. But somehow or another, Mekhi finds a way to get his body in position as he's falling backwards and catching the ball. And there's 2 guys, literally, one in front, one to the side. But he said, it's my ball. You cannot win one-on-one matchups with him. And you have to be almost perfect if you're going to double team him. Because he will take the ball. You talk about guys having that dog mentality.
Yeah.
His picture is next to the definition.
Yeah, that's very well said. So I'm curious. I want your take on this season so far, playing in the Big Ten, playing road games and all that, how that because there's been a lot of discussion about West Coast teams going across the country, East Coast teams. We're going to discuss that next here on this crossover Locked On USC and Locked On the Portal. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at SupplyHouse. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with SupplyHouse. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times will keep you from planning on projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. We always need to get something a little faster, so yes, most definitely they can get you something next day, and their part finder tools will help you find anything you need in the system. Join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and dedicated support line. Visit SupplyHouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's SupplyHouse.com. Real people and real service. We are also brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. FanDuel is happy to help you through the NFL season, and we're right in the middle of it, and it's a blast. So don't miss out on this opportunity, because right now new customers can bet just $5, and you can get $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits again, just $300. Yeah, you could definitely use that any way you want on FanDuel. Go out and bet on the Super Bowl winner, MVP, halftime scores, player props, parlays, anything you want. Just visit FanDuel.com. What are you waiting for? FanDuel.com. Download the FanDuel app today and get started. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast a part of your day and Locked On USC a part of your day. Mark Culkin from Locked On USC joins me to talk all things USC with the roster building and everything kind of changing. We're finally seeing some of the results of what Lincoln Riley's done through recruiting, even more so than the portal. And they've also got some really interesting feedback. Like last year, there were a few games. If I was a coach on this situation, I'd flip my lid. I think it was Washington. I can't remember who it was. I think they played not one of them, maybe it was Washington, played 2 games, noon Eastern time, back east. And I'm like, what are we doing? I mean, I understand TV and all that. No West Coast team should ever play a game before 3 Eastern, period. That's just reality. They got to change that up. I just want to throw it out. But in general, Lincoln Riley's teams have not done well when they went to the Midwest or back east for the most part. What do you attribute that to beyond, obviously, the time difference? It messes with your body. But do you think there's anything else? Have they spooked themselves? Like, what is it with that? And do you think the physicality will help them now?
Okay. Well, as far as the whole time difference thing, I'm not a believer in that. Okay, that's just me. These guys are well-trained athletes. They're young. They're staying up late regardless of they're playing a game or if it's, it's not during the season. These guys know how, I don't think it affects them. You talk about, going from west to east and playing that early game. Same thing. I don't think Michigan State should be playing a game at 11 p.m. Eastern. So they need to get this thing figured out. I get, like you said, you have TV time slots you got to fill, but I'm sure they could I think they could be prudent about it. There's no reason USC's playing at 11 o'clock in Illinois and 9 o'clock in LA. It's stupid. It makes no sense. I get it. It's for TV exposure. So to answer your question, I don't think the time travel makes a big thing in the game. I think what USC's issue was, if we're talking about last year, they didn't have the depth. They had those leads late in the fourth quarter. Did they have the depth and the talent? Two things kind of, as the season went along, they kept losing players. I mean, they didn't have Anthony Lucas last year when he got hurt. Eric Gentry dropped off when he got hurt. We know the whole thing about Bear Alexander, that whole thing. So you have the lead in every game on the road, fourth quarter late. You can say, well, did the offense have a turnover that contributed? Talk about the pick sixes. So it's like everything just snowballed all at once. This year, the difference so far, they've lost on the road by 2 points to Illinois. There was, some food poisoning allegedly going on. It only seemed to affect the defensive side of the ball. I'm not trying to say there wasn't, Lincoln Riley didn't want to use it as an excuse. Nevertheless, USC won on the road. They lost by 2 points, last-second field goal, and that's after they took the lead with, minute 55 left to go in the game. The defense had done nothing all game. So, part of the discussion after that contest was, did USC score too soon? Because Illinois hadn't stopped USC all game. USC hadn't stopped Illinois all game. If you're going to die with your strength, maybe give Illinois less time on the clock. Again, down a rabbit hole from 3 weeks ago. But that's been the difference. So far, USC's defenses, they've shown up. I mean, they've owned the trenches. They answered a big question against Michigan. You saw what happened against them against Illinois. They got their butts kicked. I mean, the score wasn't indicative of how badly they played defensively and especially up front. So for 2 weeks, they had to kind of stew in their own juices. They were pissed off last week against Michigan, and they took it out on Michigan. And in fact, that score, it was 31-13. USC probably should have beat them worse. I mean, if you remember, you had that Lake McCree had that fumble that Michigan recovered at their own 8-yard line. You're right there. You're leaving at least 3 points on the field at worst, probably a touchdown. And then Jade Mayaba had that really weird interception where they were already deep in Michigan territory. So again, possibly a field goal at worst, another touchdown. USC dominated that game. I mean, they held Michigan to 109 yards rushing. And that was the defense doing their job.
Well, I think that if USC can play with that same kind of vigor, they've got a chance against Notre Dame. And it'll be a good game regardless. But Notre Dame center, I remember you were talking about in the first part of the show, Notre Dame center is out for the year now.
Yep.
That's tough, man. Losing your center in the middle of the year, all the snap counts and all that, that's iffy, bro. That's
Coach
iffy.
Coach Riley mentioned that last week. He's like, you don't know how fortunate we are. We lost our starting center, but our backup has 25 starts. I mean, you cannot replace experience, especially at the center position. It's so underappreciated. Like you said, the snap count, calling, reading the defense, making sure the guys to your left and right know their assignments, snapping the ball. I mean, people don't think about that. But against Illinois, when Je'Andre Reed came in, there were some issues, that threw off the timing with the offense because the snaps weren't where they should be. There's so much involved with the center and quarterback. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, there really is. So that'll be interesting.
And take advantage of that. Absolutely.
Which defensive tackle for USC do you think is playing the best overall?
I was just thinking about that. Everyone thought that Keyshawn Silver and Jaw Jarrett were going to come in from the SEC and just be those dudes. Well, right now, Devin Tompkins, Jide Abasiri, guess what? USC recruited those guys. Thanos, Jakeem Stewart, true freshman. I don't know if he's going to be playing defensive end anymore. They had him lining up over the ball against Michigan. I think he's made that transition from he's versatile. He can play on the end. He can play that strong side defensive end. He's going through that what I like to call that Sean Cody transition right now. That Leonard Williams, Big Cat Leonard Williams transition, where he's going to be a 3 technique at the next level, but he is an inside guy right now. His quickness is crazy, and his hands, violent. I mean, he's in the backfield when the ball's snapped. He is getting the mesh point when they're handing off the ball. He's going to be special. And he already is special. The more game experience he gets, USC, to answer your question, I'm kind of rambling. Devin Tompkins, Jide Abasiri, Jakeem Stewart, and then you got Keyshawn Silver. You got Jaw Jarrett. They've got depth. And this is what they didn't have last year. And it's allowing guys like Anthony Lucas, Cam Crawford, Braylon Shelby. That's why USC has, 20, 21 sacks. Where are they? Number 1, number 2 in the country?
Yeah, it's a big deal, man. Getting pressure on the quarterback never goes out of style.
Never.
When we come back, I want to talk about some of the matchups, USC and Notre Dame. That's next on this crossover, Locked on USC and Locked on the Portal. Today's show is brought to you by Mazda, who crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. From framework to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same attention to how we craft every model. You can feel Japanese level craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. And you can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, it's time to talk about the big matchup with USC and Notre Dame from a different perspective. How does Notre Dame slow down USC? If you take the Mekhi Lemon thing out of it, they're going to do different things against him. That's self-explanatory. How would you attack USC's offense if you were Notre Dame? Would you just try to slow down the run? Because you really don't know what's going to happen with the running backs, but the holes have been so big, like you said earlier. I would, because I think Mekhi's going to get some of his, but you can't let him be balanced. If you do that, then you're in trouble, in my opinion.
I think, and every coach is going to say the same thing: stop the run. Doesn't matter if it's USC, Notre Dame. That's always going to be the first answer. But I'm gonna say why for this particular game. Jade Mayaba has played lights out this year. This is not just another game. This is USC versus Notre Dame. I'm wondering in the back of Jaden's mind, does he remember those 2 pick sixes from last year against Notre Dame at the Coliseum? Remember, USC was driving to tie the score. It was that kind of game. So can he go on the road? Can he carry the weight? Because if Notre Dame is successful and they can limit USC's run game, now all of a sudden, is Mayaba going to be okay? Is he going to manage the game right? Is he going to take chances? Is he going to stay in neutral, as he spoke about earlier in the year, with that mindset? Just focusing on that one play, not letting what happened bother him, or trying to do better the next time. Just do what you're supposed to do. If he can do that, he's got enough toys in his toy chest that he doesn't have to do the heavy lifting. Just make the good throws. Let Mekhi Lemon, let Jacoby Lane, let your tight ends, let your running backs catch the ball out in the flat. Just move the ball.
Yeah, I think they'll try to make him do that, and it works. I mean, Notre Dame plays quite a bit of man, but my guess is they want to try to force them. They're going to mix it up. They've depending on who they played man, and when they played teams with more talent, they played zone more. They just go with whatever they're going against. They mix it up, but they've got Leonard Moore back healthy. He's been banged up for quite a bit of the year. That's a first-round draft pick at corner.
Sure.
So that gives them – they might play some split coverage, would be my guess. Up front is where it's interesting, because Notre Dame early this year was awful up front. They've improved dramatically. I don't know why. They're way better now. So I'm curious to see that matchup. I think it'll be good, but I still expect USC to run the ball pretty well.
You're looking for the answer to why. We know their first 2 games was Miami, Texas A&M.
Well, that's part of it.
Who have they played since then? Obviously they played better. You can see it on film, but has resistance been the same compared to those first 2 games? That's the only point I'm bringing up. Now, all of a sudden, USC might not be Miami. They might not be Texas A&M as far as, your national ranking. But is USC big enough, strong enough, tough enough to give Notre Dame that same type of resistance?
I think they are. The question is, how will they mesh? This is, Notre Dame's going to bring stuff to the table they haven't shown this year and vice versa. That's, that's typical. It'll come down to a few big plays, but I think that matchup will be very fun in the trenches. And I'm curious to see how many looks Notre Dame gives them early to try to make them adjust and all that. That the chess game stuff is so much fun to watch if you really pay attention to football. I'm
just glad Xavier Watts is no longer there to kill USC.
That guy was as good a safety in college football as there was the last 2 years.
He 2 years in a row, man. That 2 years in a row, that dude just said, "I own you." So yeah, I'm glad
he was unbelievable. He was unbelievable. They got some good safeties, but there was one Xavier Watts. As far as USC on defense, what do you think they're going to try to do more? Just take away Love and Price? I mean, you want to stop the run, but Notre Dame's receivers and tight ends are really good too. And I think CJ Carr, it's kind of obvious. He's a first-round pick in rating. How do you think they'll attack that?
So, obviously you're going to have to make sure your run fits are solid. They got to be fundamentally sound. Love is going to get his. Everyone, you know what? He's going to get his, but everyone thought the same thing last week with Justice Haynes. Now, I get it. He got hurt, but USC also shut down Jordan, who's no slouch.
Yeah, Glenn Marshall's a good player. He's
exactly.
A good player.
So yeah, you have to limit Notre Dame's run game. You have to make their freshman quarterback beat you. And I get it. USC's strength right now has not been their secondary. They played better last week. Is CJ Carr a better quarterback at this stage compared to Bryce Underwood? Probably. I don't know how much better, but I'll give him, I'll tip my hat to him and say he's played better this season compared to Bryce Underwood as far as having to make the throws. And you mentioned
more weapons
better wide receivers too. Yeah. You just said he has better weapons. Can Kamari Ramsey, can Bishop Fitzgerald, Christian Pierce, can the middle of USC's defense, the secondary, can they do some stuff to confuse CJ Carr?
That really, to me, is the point, because outside of what is his name, the kid at Alabama, who I think is the most accurate quarterback in the country, that guy is, and he's not as talented as like Maeva or Carr, but he is Ty Simpson, but he's really accurate. I think Carr is probably about the most accurate guy I've seen after that. If you just play like some of those teams that just play basic zone, that doesn't work. You got to be able to play man against them.
So last week against Michigan, USC got a little creative. They showed more of a 4-3, but it was kind of a disguise because they had Eric Gentry playing in the slot. So again, it's going to be that type of thing where can their freshman quarterback at Notre Dame, who's good, he's going to be an NFL player. No one's denying that. But again, this is more than just a regular game. This is USC Notre Dame. There's a lot of pressure there. Is this the last game in the rivalry for who knows how long? So there's all this buildup going on behind the scenes too. USC knows. I'll just say this. This is a playoff game for Notre Dame. It's an elimination game.
Yeah.
USC, as much as it would suck for them to lose, they still have a chance to, make the playoffs with 2 losses. Notre Dame doesn't make it with 3, especially when those losses are Miami, Texas A&M, and USC. There's nobody left on their schedule. Nobody that should beat them. So yeah, there's that pressure that Notre Dame has to deal with. And are they ready to play with that type of pressure?
Yeah, that's a really big question. And you don't know how CJ's going to react in this kind of game. He's gotten some confidence, killing some teams that they just didn't have the athletes to play man coverage. I'm curious to see how much man USC plays. Notre Dame's receivers have surprised me. They're a lot better than I thought they were going to be, but they also put Love out there a lot. I think that's the other part. Nobody wants to be in front of Love as a safety or linebacker. I'm curious to see what they do.
No, trust me, I know what Love can do. I've watched it. He's the guy you have to contain. He's going to get his, but USC just can't give up any, splash plays, big explosive runs where they go for 30, 40, 50-yard touchdowns. If he gets a 10, 12-yarder, he gets a few of those during the game, great. Just don't let him go on those big runs. I don't want to see him hurdling 3 guys into the end zone. That's all.
That's fair. That's fair. He's capable.
I know.
He's capable. What is the key ingredient besides stopping the run and not letting Love go crazy for USC to win the football game?
So that defensive line has to get to the quarterback. You don't have to sack him every time. Just create pressure. Make him move around. Make him go from, my first progression, I can't see him right now. That type of stuff. Just get pressure. If USC can get 2 to 3 sacks and you get 8 to 10 pressures, it might be a long day for Notre Dame. It might be a long day.
Could be. I mean,
it's going to come down to who is more disciplined. Obviously, don't turn the ball over. Last week, USC made a huge improvement on that in one area. Only 3 penalties. None on the defense.
That's a big deal.
That's a huge
deal. You can't give teams either way with the quarterbacks in this game. If you give them, jumping off sides, face mask, personal foul, any of that stuff. Yeah, any of that stuff, man. That you're just throwing gasoline on the fire right there because these guys will light you up. They both might be. It's possible that both of them are in New York for the Heisman ceremony. It would not shock me.
Let me ask, Brian, how do you see this game going? How does it end? Is it a close game or is it a blowout for either way?
I think it'll be very close. I think you kind of hit on it. My biggest thing, and I have no opinion on it, Notre Dame, as I mentioned earlier, their center tore his ACL.
Right.
We have no idea how that's going to go. That kid's going to make his first start. He was a highly recruited kid, Joe Otting, recruited, 30 offers or whatever. How am I going to, is he going to be able to do the protections? I have no idea. That's a tough first ask to go against a quality opponent like USC, especially when it's playing really well. But at the same time, you don't know what he's going to do if you're USC either. It is a complete guesswork. But outside of that, it'll probably come down to a couple of fade balls. Malachi Fields for Notre Dame, Makai Lemon for USC. The down the field stuff, which DBs make plays, could also be very big because both teams got NFL talent in their secondaries.
Both teams have NFL talent. It's a matter of will USC's be able to do it 2 games in a row. Like I said, last week, they went with 2 guys at cornerback. There was no rotation. It was Marcellus Williams one side, DeCarlos Nicholson on the other side. Usually in the past, they rotate guys in. I would say last week was their best game in the secondary. Kamari Ramsey was back. He missed the Illinois game with food poisoning. But they're still trying to get that nickel position figured out. They got the kid. I'm sorry?
Nobody has that position figured out in college football. It's the hardest spot there is. Like Makai plays it for USC sometimes, but they might put their tight end there on the next play. You're a nickel, man. There's no way you're going to be consistent.
Like I said, when I saw Eric Gentry lined up in the slot last week, what's going on here, man?
Yeah, you got to try stuff like that because those guys aren't going to cover the tight end and then turn around and cover up Makai Lemon.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's not a fair. Come on.
No. I don't want to see Eric Gentry lined up on a Makai Lemon because he's not going to win that battle.
Right.
Not even 1 time out of 10.
Right. Mark, tell everybody where they can find your work, my friend.
Absolutely. Locked on USC every day. And then when I'm done there, you can always head on over to wearesc.com. I got some writing going on over there. We do the Inside the Trojan Huddle panel show once a week. A lot of stuff. You can find me everywhere. Just Locked on USC is where you want to start, and I'll tell you where to go from there.
All right, buddy. I appreciate it. The Portal Podcast can be found on Spotify, Apple, Podbean, and, of course, on YouTube. We will see you again soon.